Good day, folks. This is Judy at Green Pastures Farm. I'm doing a sheep move today in the middle of winter. I think we're about the middle of February. And we just moved the sheep from where I'm standing over into the other paddock. You can see them up there grazing. We'll get a closer look at them in a minute. But I wanted to show you, this is one of our fences. So in the summertime especially, this is how we water our sheep. Of course, in the wintertime, as they're grazing, they're not going to even get out on the ice or the snow. They're pretty much going after the snow for their water. Even without snow, they don't. We found that if it's cold, as long as the sheep are grazing this, winter stockpile, they won't even drink water if you give it to them. I did that when I first started, and I was thinking 7 days of giving them water, it froze up every morning. They didn't drink 1 single inch. Found out in the winter, as long as they're grazing winter stockpile, they just don't consume water. Now you put them up in a lot, and that's a different deal. When you're feeding them hay, you got to give them water. But this is our fence, so this would be a corner post. That's a red pigtail, okay, and a little slip knot on it. I love that slip knot because you can grab that and pull it, and it comes undone. Don't tie a square knot. So I got my pigtail stuck in the pond. Of course, it's froze in there now. So we'll have to chop that out when we take this fence down. Then we got a step in over here at an angle. See that? And that little hook right there is up against that. And that gives me all the strength that I need to hold that poly braid in place. Now, so that's tied to the pigtail. That's too tall for sheep, so immediately we go down with a post right there. So there's my 10-inch height. Okay, we've never had a sheep go through that. Not once we got him trained on 1 single wire. So now we're going to go up the hill here, and I'm going to show you how we powered this up. So this is tied on cold right here in the pond. Sheep are not going to go around that. And I'm going to climb this, so you all just hold with me. Hope I don't fall and bust my butt, because it is steep. It's covered in snow and ice. I will make it. You notice how close I've got my post here. When you're on tough terrain, folks, you've got to get your post spacing closer together, or your wire's not going to be effective to keep sheep in. So right here, I mean, those posts are like 12 feet apart. There's one that's 6 feet apart because that dropped down. So anytime you have a change in terrain, put a post right there where it changes. Okay? This is something that we've been noticing. Look at this. That's a sumac tree. Look at what the sheep have done on the ends of every one of these. Here's another one. Now that's not a sumac. That is a blackberry stalk. Dang, sheep ate the whole stalk. He stopped right there, but he ate the stalk. Okay? Sheep are a little bit like goats. Especially in the wintertime, they go after the woody type stuff. Look at that. They're eating. There's a little sprout. I'm not sure which one that one is. Oh, it's buckbrush. They've ate all the buckbrush. I mean, they just put the hammer on all the buckbrush. There's another blackberry. Just working it over. Okay. So as we go up the hill here, I've already moved the sheep mineral and the dog feeder up the hill. You can see it's up there. And I'm going to show you how we power this fence up when we get to the top. Now see, folks, that dog has got that drag on it. We put the drag on there to keep them home when they're puppies so they don't get hit out on the road like they will do if they start roaming. See, that dog's eating. And he's got about an 8-pound rubber drag on him. He's learned to get underneath there. And folks, that height is, I'm going to go ahead and get up there and I'll show you the height. So this height here, from here down to the ground, that's 10 inches. If you go higher than that, you're going to find a sheep in there. Once you find the sheep in there, you're done. You will never keep them out of there. Once a sheep tastes dog food, you've ruined those sheep. And folks, you cannot afford to feed your sheep dog feed. They don't need it. It's like feeding them grain. They're just going to go after it like gangbusters. So don't ever let them get started. We had a dog we sold to a guy. He was just out there dumping feed on the ground in the middle of his goats. The dogs looked like you could count every rib on them. They weren't getting anything to eat. The goats ate all the feed.
Get back, get back.
And so you don't do that. Come up here closer. So here we've got, these are gravity flow feeders, okay? They've got magnets on them. Whenever you park your dog feeder, always make sure that it's facing south, the opening, okay? Make sure they're facing south because we don't get rain, driving rains from the south. We've also got our feeders up on a 2x6, okay? Here's our chain. So this is my tongue. I just throw it over my ball like this, and we're good to go. Okay. I've got 2 feeders in here because we got 10 dogs in here. This will hold 50 pounds. The smaller one will hold about 35 pounds. So we can put about 85 pounds of feed out. Folks, if you've only got one dog, don't put out 50 pounds of feed. Absolutely do not do that. Because what will happen is possums will get in it, the ants will get in it, it'll get wet, it gets stale. If you open up a bag of potato chips and you don't seal the bag back up and the potato chips get stale, you're not going to eat them as well. It's the same way with dogs. If that food gets old in there, they're not going to eat it. They might be hungry, but they're not going to eat it. Keep the dog food fresh. We've got enough dogs in here that we don't have any problem keeping dog food fresh. But if you only got one dog, don't fill this feeder up. Maybe only put it a quarter full so you can add dog food to it maybe every 4 or 5 days. In the summertime, it's worse. The ants get into it and just ruin your dog feed. We found out by getting this thing up off the ground, the feeder, we used to set them on the ground. Well, 2 things happened. The bottom of them rusted out, and ants. Ants were a lot more apt to get into them. We used to get a lot of possums. I've opened that up and found a possum in there before. That's a scary deal. It's alarming to you because you're not expecting a possum. We don't have possums anymore because of the dogs. They kind of keep them run out, or they just grab them if they come in here. But again, it's got 4x4s on it. This is a pig panel. Okay. We've got a 45 cut here on the front so that it'll skip over stumps or rocks. And it's about 3 foot wide, and it's got these braces screwed on here to keep it rigid so it doesn't spread apart on you. And these are pig panels. That's just a pig panel. It's a 16-foot pig panel. So one 16-foot pig panel, you can build your guardian dog feeder, and your dogs always have food. Folks, don't let your guard dog feeders get empty. Just don't do that. So we're going to show you how we fill them up. I just pop the lids on them. That one. And then I've got a little bit in this one I'm going to put. This one's already about half full. Okay, there you go. And I don't think you have to worry about that feed right there. It will be cleaned up pretty quick by a dog. She's already kind of licking her lips. So now we're going to go over here and look at the mineral feeder for the sheep. So we pulled our dog feeder through. We pulled our mineral feeder through. We usually keep them within, 20, 30, 40, 50 feet of each other. So this is our cafeteria style mineral feeder for the sheep. Folks, for many years I just fed them salt. That was it. You got to get closer, honey. You can't do that. You got to come closer. Otherwise people are going to be complaining they can't hear. Up here. Thank you. Okay, so we've got some ones here that are empty. We're going to write these down. Looks like we need to bring some in, for there's 3 empty ones here, but they're all marked. And this is Free Choice Enterprises. They do have a website. There's 16 different minerals in here, or there was. The sheep are going through these.
And what are they?
Well, we're eating vitamin C. There's selenium. This one is magnesium, and copper. Of course, salt, vitamins A, and what's this one over here? Cl is calcium. Oh, and B4 is another mineral. And over here, these are all full. You got vitamin TB. OH is an alkaline neutralizer. There's magnesium. CB is a acid neutralizer. Ca, I forgot. Iodine, silicone, sulfur, and potassium.
And you're giving the sheep copper?
Yes. The question is sheep and copper. Copper's supposed to kill sheep. Well, folks, if you got just pure copper in there, the sheep are not going to intentionally kill themselves. Sheep need a little bit of copper. The problem you get into is when the copper is mixed in with cattle mineral, it's in there at too high of a level, and the sheep can't pick exactly what they need, and they overeat on it. Here, they just take a little bit, and they're done, okay? So there's 16 minerals in that box. One of them is loose salt, and they go through and pick out what they want. Now, you got to be careful with this feeder. When you order it, make sure, if you do order it out of Free Choice Enterprises, make sure you get the sheep feeder top. It's real thin. The cattle top is about 3 times that thick. Sheep have a hard time lifting it up, and worse than that, when they raise it up and they get their head in there, and that drops down on their head, they can't get their head out. That's how heavy that is. This is light. And believe it or not, them sheep learn how to lift that up and get exactly what they need. So the sheep are going to a paddock, they eat the mineral that they need from that paddock because it's missing. So let's just say we put them in here and there wasn't any phosphorus in this paddock, in the ground itself, in the soil. The sheep can go here and eat phosphorus, poop that back out on the land, and over time, your livestock are remineralizing your farm exactly what's missing. We call them our traveling laboratory. So over time, they will remineralize your entire farm with what's missing. People say, oh, but Greg, animals can't do that. They're not smart enough. Yeah, they are. And that's because their life depends on it. All right, so we've got the mineral. We covered that. Let's go over here to the fence. I want to show you how we power it up. This is our 1-wire poly braid. So we came up the hill from the pond. Okay. This is my feeder wire over here. You can get closer so you can see what I'm doing. So this is my feeder wire. I've got 2 offset wires next to a barbed wire fence. That barbed wire fence, folks, is not going to hold the sheep. If they want to go, they can duck right underneath there. But if they do, their body's going to be on the hot wire getting shocked, and their nose is going to be on the barbed wire. That is not going to be a good combination because the barbed wire is the ground. All the steel posts up through there. So what I do, I just hook it on here. Okay, so to get it tight, let me just start from scratch. So there it is, it's loose. Okay, this is a geared Tarragate reel. Okay, the poly braid on it, it's the best poly braid in the world. It's made by Powerflex and it's called the mixed steel. It's got 6 copper and 3 steel. Did I say that right? No, I'm sorry, 6 steel, 3 copper. Anyway, it is tight. Look, come here and look at this real close. See, that's braided. That's not twisted. I can twist on that all I want. I'm not going to get that braid to come out of there. Folks, this stuff will last you 15 to 20 years if you take care of it. Now look at this. So, I've got to power it up. So I'm going to put it on my last post right there. And I pull it up here like this, and I hold it. I look back. My wire's tight, okay? So I'm going to bring it back. All I'm going to do is wrap it around this hook about 3 times. And when you come back around, make sure you put it in this groove right here. Okay? And when you set it up on there, it's no fair touching this. Because you're going to get knocked into next week. So just make sure your hands are on plastic. Reach up there, hook it, set it down. Always hook it on a fiberglass post, or if you're using timeless, make sure you get on a timeless post or whatever. Don't set it out here in the open. It's going to slide. Your reel is going to slide up and down your wire, and your animals will be gone. See how I did that? Isn't that so cool? So that's how we do it. Pretty simple. We've already moved the sheep in, and you can see them as they're going across the ridge over there. They're actually uncovering snow as we speak. And we've just done a sheep move. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end that up. Folks, it doesn't take that much time to move your sheep. Give them a new paddock. Get them out of what they were on. They're on some clean brush here. They're going to work this over. Look at all this. See this? This is an autumn olive bush. It is in serious trouble. The sheep are going to come down through here and they're going to work all that off. So we move, and this is in serious trouble. This is a blackberry bush. They're going to work that dude over too. So animals, they put a lot of pressure on brush. Small ruminants, goats and sheep. Some people can use goats, that's fine. Just remember, it's a little more challenging to keep them home. And you don't have the parasite resistance that you do with St. Croix sheep. That's been our experience. But with that, I think I'm going to sign off. Everyone have a great day.